What a wonderful day today is. It's Teacher Appreciation Week, which is my favorite week of the entire year. That's including summer break and Christmas and Valentine's Day and all of those things wrapped into one. Teacher Appreciation, because I get just inundated with love and food and gifts, and I just feel really, really special to be a teacher. So anyway, I digress. We're here with our first question Monday morning. It's just a two-step algebraic equation, and the instructions say to solve it two ways. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to solve it using the method that we probably all did by adding a quarter to get rid of the constant to both sides. Most of you understand that adding the opposite of the constant to both sides will create a zero pair, leaving me with half of x is equal to, when adding fractions you need a common denominator. Once you have that, you end up with half of x is equal to 7/8. Then you would have multiplied both sides by 2, or if we're thinking fractions, we can think of it as being 2 over 1, which would give you 14 over 8, which is equal to 1, and 6 over 8, which is equal to 1 and 3/4 is a final answer. Minimum, you all know how to do it that way, because that is just basic algebra sense and fraction sense combined. However, if you think about the second way to do it, and if you think about equality, and I've now drawn this picture probably 100 different times, but if we think about what would happen to an equation if I multiplied both sides by 8, we understand that it would maintain equality through the thousands of exemplars that we've done so far. Now, the reason why I chose 8 is because if you look at this equation, I have a fraction here with a 2 denominator, I have a fraction here with a 4 denominator, and I have a fraction here with an 8 denominator. And a fact is, if you multiply any fraction by a multiple of the denominator, so for example, 1/8 by 8, if you think about cross reduction, 1/8 times 8 is 1. If you think about x over 2 multiplied by 8, and you think about cross reduction, you get 4x. If you didn't use cross reduction, you would have got 8x over 2, but you still get 4x. So the truth is, when you multiply a fraction by a multiple of the denominator, you will always create a non-fractioned answer. So here's what happens. If I take this equation and I multiply it by 8, I'm going to multiply this side by 8. And since it's a binomial, multiplying it by 8 will require distributive property. And I'm going to multiply this side by 8 as well. So in doing so, I need to think of this left-hand side as being what's half of x multiplied by 8, what's a quarter multiplied by 8, and what's 5/8 multiplied by 8. If I think of those things like that, just rewrite it like that, I could solve it quite easy. When I think about half of x multiplied by 8, if you don't cross reduce, what are you going to get? If you don't cross reduce, you're going to get 8x over 2, correct? And what's 8x over 2? Or what's 8x divided by 2? It's 4x. But if I cross reduce, I'm going to end up with x times 4, which is just 4x, over 1, which doesn't exist anymore. So the term half of x multiplied by 8 will be 4x. Over here, what's 1/4 multiplied by 8? If I don't cross reduce, I get 8 over 4, which reduces down to 2. If I do cross reduce, 8 over 4 reduced to 2 over 1, I still get 2. Now remember, it's going to be a minus 2, not a positive 2, right? And then over here, finally, 5/8 multiplied by 8. If I don't cross reduce, I get 40 over 8, which is 5. If I do cross reduce, I still get 5. So the purpose of this exercise is realizing that when you take a fraction, an equation that contains fractions, and you multiply both sides of those equations by a common multiple of all of the denominators within the fractions, you will create an equivalent equation that doesn't have fractions, and it's much easier to solve. I'm going to simply add 2 to both sides now, because it's a grade 7 question. 4x equals 7. Divide both sides by the coefficient, and x will equal 7/4, which is equal still to 1 3/4. The same answer I got the first way I solved.